Today on Delta Safari, we visit with Chloe, the naturist from Meaher State Park, and she's going to teach us all about the flora and fauna that you can find on the Delta.
Today on Delta Safari, I've returned to one of my favorite places, Meaher State Park, one of the best state parks in the entire Alabama state park system. We're going to take a little nature tour with Chloe, who's the naturist here for the park, and we're going to check out this beautiful boardwalk that goes right out here on the Delta.
Yeah, so Timothy Meaher, he owned a bunch of land in the Delta in the mid-1800s. Now, slavery, the imports of enslaved people, was outlawed, but he thought he was rich and bad enough to get around the law, and used one of his ships, hired a captain, and brought 110 enslaved people to the United States in 1860, which was quite a few years after it had been outlawed, so it was smuggling. They brought them right up the Mobile Bay into the Delta. And I think 108 of them survived. 2 people passed away on the journey. But yeah, they sold a few, kept a few, but in 1865 they were freed. The rest of the slaves in the United States, and a lot of them settled Africatown, which is that historic district over in Mobile. But in 1980, Augustine Meaher, who was Timothy Meaher's one of his great-grandsons or something, he donated this land to the state, and it became a state park shortly after, which is how we got the name Meaher State Park. Unfortunately, it is a dark history, like a lot of Alabama.
But it was a case of a descendant trying to make some amends for what came before by giving the land to the people.
He did donate this, and I do like to talk about it. We don't have any kind of history boards in the park. And this was, went right up into the Delta and then sunk the ship, and this was part of their land, so I do think it's important to talk about.
Absolutely.
I always point people over to Africatown to check it out.
Yeah.
The beauty of the Mobile-Tensaw Delta and its natural form. There's a whole bunch of plants to see. We have a lot of native species, a lot of invasive species as well, unfortunately. Some of the invasives I can point out right here. There's honeysuckle growing in that little area.
Yep.
And then we've got the Chinese tallow or the popcorn trees.
All over my yard.
Yeah, they have completely overrun this park. We are working on trying to get a plan together, but unfortunately they grow so fast, and their roots, so they like to grow where other plants are because they don't have very strong roots. They like to grow in wet areas. So the root systems of plants will actually hold the ground together and prevent erosion and stuff, which is why they'll grow with other plants so they don't have to worry about being washed to seed. But they have a really, really deep taproot, so they can reach the water table and get all kinds of other nutrients before the other plants get it. That taproot also makes it an issue when controlling them, because a lot of herbicides, when you cut down a tree or something and you spray the stump, a lot of them are water-based herbicides, and when it reaches the water table, it just dissipates. So the tree is actually still alive, and popcorn trees are fantastic at regrowing from the roots. So if you don't get the whole thing up, it's just going to keep spreading and growing like a giant bush.
And would you believe my father loved them?
Oh.
The only person I met that did like them, but he absolutely loved them.
If he is an older gentleman, they were very, very popular, like groundskeeping, landscaping plants, which is why we have so many invasive species, is because people bring over these beautiful Asian plants and African plants and didn't realize how fast they would grow in our climate. So popcorn trees have completely overrun the area. Kogon grass is another one. We don't have a whole lot of it out here, but there's a whole bunch of that beach.
Is that the really tall grass?
Really tall, thick grass. It forms really thick root mats on the ground and it chokes out other species that are supposed to be there. Burns very, very hot, but the burns don't kill it, so it can make controlled fires really difficult because of its extreme heat.
People always vilify forest fires, but they're so important.
They are so important.
And just quit building your houses in the middle of forests.
Yeah, honestly.
But I just recently found out that hardwood trees, the acorns and the nuts will not sprout until there's a fire.
Until there's a fire. That's like longleaf pines. Alabama used to be covered in them. A longleaf pine savanna. They're really, really good wood for like buildings.
Right, lumber.
Well, they decimated the population before realizing it's a very, very slow-growing pine, and it's dependent on these natural forest fires to happen. So there have been like some population growth increases throughout the state, but it's hard because the other faster-growing pines, like loblollies, which are what's in our park here,
right?
Most of the pines here are loblollies. Some are slash pines. They grow very, very fast. So,
wow,
it is beautiful out here today, and we actually have a fantastic view. There's a few birds here. There's a great egret.
Yeah.
There's some common gallinules, but right out there, you see those ducks.
Yeah.
Do you know what those are?
No.
Okay, so those are black-bellied whistling ducks.
Okay.
Now, they are considered native here, but they're new natives. The past 5 to 10 years, they have been increasing their range. They do think part of it has to do with climate change and our waters and weather warming. Yeah, we do have some gators that hang out here. There's one that's about 4 feet long that hangs out right in between the 2 parts of water. There's like that little mat of tall plants. That's usually completely bland. Yeah, so Alabama, we are number 5 for biodiversity in the United States. We are in the top 3 for like shellfish and fish. We're number 1 for pitcher plants, number 1 for turtles, I think 2nd for amphibians. We've got more bird species than most other states just because of the migrations. There's been as many as 450 different species of birds recorded in Alabama, which is really cool about this boardwalk as part of the Alabama birding trails.
Right.
And coastal Alabama birding trail subsection. But I mean, they'll stop at Fort Morgan and Dauphin Island, and then they will start making their way north of the bay, and the Delta is their like 2nd stop for their migration. We do have more waterways than any other state.
Yes, more navigable waterways than any state. And when you think about it, it's mind-blowing because Alaska is so big.
Alaska is so big.
Yeah. Hey, these flowers.
These flowers, yes.
Yes.
So these are salt marsh morning glories.
I was thinking they look like a type of morning glory,
Yes,
but
they are
that's
type
as
of
far as I
morning
could go.
They have a vine that they use to climb up things, and they do really well out here because there's all the marsh reeds, and I mean you can see them kind of twirl themselves up. But what's really interesting about our park, so we are at the southernmost end of the Delta, and deltas are usually freshwater. And then estuaries, so the 2nd largest estuary in the United States is the Mobile Bay.
Right.
And that's brackish water. So where we are, it can be brackish most of the time, occasionally on the fresh side. But not all plants are what we call salt tolerant. So it takes a lot. I mean, like we can't drink salt water, and they struggle with it as well. So we have some subspecies of a lot of other species that have adapted to living in a salty environment. So they get special names like salt marsh morning glories.
And the purple ones coming up over here.
Purple ones over there are pickerel weed, so that's an invasive species.
Okay.
You can see a lot of invasive species in through here. So purple ones, those are pickerel weed. In the springtime, you can harvest the like cattails. Their roots, you can eat them. There's the lotus seeds, you can eat those when they're green because they're still soft. They taste like a soggy peanut, though. I wouldn't recommend trying. There's lots of edible plants, and one of those is actually these guys here. So this is taro. But yeah, there's lots of edible things in the Delta. There's lots of things you shouldn't eat
Right.
as well. But one of the ones that we can't eat, but raccoons love, is the pepper vine. So it kind of looks like a blackberry stem, except it doesn't have any thorns on it.
Right.
The leaves start off red and then they turn to be a little green, but their stems stay reddish, and they form circular, smooth. You can kind of see it starting to grow some here, and they'll turn black. Now, we cannot eat them. They're not going to make you crazy sick. It just might upset your stomach. This white flower here is the deadliest plant in the Delta.
Okay.
And maybe one of the deadliest plants in Alabama. So this is water hemlock.
Okay. I was wondering if it was a type of hemlock.
Yes. Water hemlock. The flowers give it away. So a lot of the wild carrots, they're all in the same family. They all have the same kind of flowers, and most of them are toxic, like Queen Anne's lace. It's mildly toxic compared to the water hemlock, but this is very deadly.
Chloe, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I
And
love your stuff on Facebook.
the diversity of plant life and animal life that you can find on this Delta is just absolutely mind-boggling. It is amazing, all the different life forms right here in this one little spot.
Hey y'all, Luke the dog here, and please y'all, and I'm so itchy. Would you scratch me right there around the like button in the subscribe area right there? I'd appreciate it if you did, because I feel so much better.